So a lot of times when we're representing abused beneficiaries, the number one thing that they want more than anything is to remove that trustee who's abusing them, and naturally so, because they're not doing their job. How hard is it to remove a trustee, and what are some of the options to try and go about doing that?
Well, first of all, it's very difficult to remove a trustee in California. That's just the way it is. And so there's two ways to go about it. The first is to ask the court to remove them on a temporary basis and put another private party in place, usually not another family member, because then we end up with the same problems, but some type of an independent fiduciary, we call them, that are professional trustees. And so they'll come in, kind of administrate the trust for the time being while the litigation is being sorted out. My experience is courts are very careful in doing that. You have to show some type of breach of trust that's significant, such as the trustee has taken a large amount of money and has run off with it, or they've abused the trust real property in some way that's significant, such as a large apartment complex that they aren't keeping tenants in there and keeping the mortgage paid up and so forth. The courts may, in those cases, do a temporary removal.
What about if somebody's just not investing the assets properly? You're going to get somebody suspended on that basis?
You're not, because what the court is saying is, generally you're not. The court is saying, look, if they truly are breaching their duties as trustee in managing the trust portfolio, you're going to be able to surcharge them for that down the road after the evidentiary hearing or trial is completed. And so it's very frustrating for beneficiaries because they're saying, look, you've lost $200,000 or $300,000 in the trust portfolio in 1 year, and we can't stop you from losing more. You go into the court, you try to get them temporarily removed. Maybe the court does it, most likely not. And then it's just a matter of taking it to trial, proving the losses that have been sustained by the beneficiaries because of the trustees, I want to say malfeasance, because of the trustees' failure to administrate the trust portfolio properly, and hopefully that trustee is a beneficiary of the trust as well, and you can take from their share to give to the other trust beneficiaries for those losses.
So if you're not successful in suspending a trustee on a temporary basis, then what's your other option? Or are you dead in the water at that point?
You're not dead in the water, but it's going to be a longer process. You're going to have to bring a petition to remove them as trustee, and that requires a trial. So there will be some discovery, probably some depositions, and then there's going to be a trial to determine whether the trustee should or should not be removed. In my experience, by the time we get to trial, we're not only dealing with trustee removal, but we're usually dealing with undue influence, lack of capacity, or breach of trust. And so it's just going to be a trial that'll settle all issues, and it really doesn't matter whether that trustee continues on or not, because that's going to be the end of the litigation with a distribution, hopefully, to the trust beneficiaries of what's left over.
So on a litigated case, what's your view of trying to work out a settlement or go to some sort of mediation process?
You know, I've struggled with this because you want to do well for your clients, and many times you see a settlement because of your experience, and so you want to shoot for that. And I've found in my experience that's the worst thing you can do for a client. I think that when we take a case, you have to, in your mind, and hopefully convince the client that you're taking this case to trial. And you need to prepare as if you're taking it to trial, and you need to be ready to go to trial on time. I've found that when we do that, because 97% of cases settle, there's a very high likelihood this case is going to settle, but we're ready to take it to trial, and that actually increases the value of the settlement. So rather than shooting for a settlement, we want to shoot for trial, which is either going to get us a really good settlement, or we're going to be prepared to take it to trial, and hopefully they're not prepared as we are, and we're going to get a successful outcome for the client.